Teresa Whitaker's lively and joyous performances. She tells original stories and traditional folk tales, weaving in participatory music and songs, guitar, Celtic harp, and percussion instruments. Teresa's musical and storytelling performances simply sing with life. She performs with her husband, Frank Schwartz, who sings and plays guitar, bass, old-time banjo, and the mandolin. She will describe how second graders will recount and describe key ideas or details from the text presented orally or through other media, and also create songs and chants as part of the story. Teresa Whitaker.
For me, these stories are, they give me hope of how similar we all are all around the world, and because we all care about the same things. And the wisdom that is in those stories is a world wisdom that comes from the human journey. And it also shows us how unique we all are. So I'm going to share a piece of an African story because I was asked to talk about how story songs can help children reconnect to details and key ideas in the story, as well as the meaning of the story. And after a bit of telling you the very first part of the story, I'll stop and go on and share the song with you that children created about this story. It's a story that many of you may have heard. It's called Who's in Rabbit's House? A story.
A story.
Let it come.
Let it go.
Once upon a time, there was a little rabbit, and she lived in a small house that sat beside a path not far from a beautiful lake. Rabbit loved every evening to sit in the doorway of her little house and watch as all the animals came down the path to drink at that pond. But one day, when Rabbit came back to her house, she tried to get in the door, but it was locked from the inside. And she tapped on the door. Tap, 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 tap. Who's in Rabbit's house? And from inside came a terrible voice. It said, I am the long one. I eat trees and trample elephants. Go away, or I will trample you. Could you say that with me? I am the long one. I eat trees and trample elephants. Go away, or I will trample you. Rabbit was aghast. Who was in her house? And just then, Frog came hopping along. Good evening, Rabbit. Why aren't you in your house? There's a bad animal in my house. Well, perhaps I could help. You are so small and insignificant. How could you help me? Now, Frog should have left that rude rabbit, but he didn't. He hopped behind a big rock and waited to see what might happen next. Now, a whole litany of animals begin to come down the path. There's Jackal, who wants to put sticks around and burn out the long one. There's Leopard, who wants to scratch out the long one. There's Elephant, who wants to smash the house. There's Rhinoceros, who wants to throw the long one into the lake, but throws Rabbit instead. And then finally, Frog comes back, and he rolls up a big leaf, which makes his voice very big. And he calls out, Who's in Rabbit's house? And from inside comes the voice of the long one. Could you say it with me? I am the long one. I eat trees and trample elephants. Go away, or I will trample you. Well, I am the spitting cobra. And if you don't come out, I will squeeze under the door and spit poison in your face. Door flew open, and out, bloop, 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 came a little caterpillar whose eyes were bulging out with fright. And when the animals saw that the long one was just a caterpillar, they began to laugh. And from that time on, when someone was afraid of something, they would say, Are you sure it's not just a little caterpillar? And that is the story of the long one. So I will show you how we began with listing the characters that were in the story and what each one did and something that was somewhat distinct about each character. And then we began to craft a melody, which usually is the hardest part. But often the rhythm of the words will help you find a melody. Little rabbit feels so sad. Little rabbit feels so sad. Can't get in her house and she feels so mad.
Can't get in her house and she feels so mad.
Who's in Rabbit's house? A go-go.
Who's in Rabbit's house?
A go-go. Only the long one calling out.
Who's in Rabbit's house?
A go-go. Little froggy saves the day.
Little froggy saves the day.
Makes the long one go away.
Makes the long one go away.
Shows to everyone and all.
Shows to everyone and all.
The long one is a caterpillar after all.
The long one is a caterpillar after all.
Who's in Rabbit's house? A go-go. Who's in Rabbit's house? A go-go.
Only the long one calling out.
Who's in Rabbit's house? A go-go. Who's in Rabbit's house? A go-go.
Who's in Rabbit's house? Who's in Rabbit's house?
A go-go.